Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about Dragon Man. Now I already reviewed Airwalker. He does look quite fun and he does look like he's going to have quite a lot of damage but not too much in terms of utility. But Dragon Man does look quite a lot better, I must add. He has quite a lot going for him and I think it will all add up in a very good package, and he has potential to be one of, if not the top champion released this year. And I don't often get too hyped over the new champions, but this guy definitely has my full attention and I will be following him very closely because he has a lot of good things going for him. So first and foremost, he has decent prestige, nothing groundbreaking, but basically in line with the most recent champions. Now he is a mystic class, but he's also a robot, which is extremely interesting. So he obviously will have the double immunities, and so his basic ability is Power Charge, which is effectively a power gain buff at the strength of Doctor Strange's power gain. So he's going to be getting a lot of power, especially as we're going to later find out he can stack them up a bit. Now he has completely new debuff Ineptitude, which we're going to discuss, and then he has abilities to go unblockable quite frequently. I'm not going to read all of these developer notes, but or from strengths and weaknesses, but we're just going to jump into his abilities and make our own conclusions, right? So first and foremost, he has offensive combat power rate reduced by 35%. However, that is offset by his power charge buff, which is an active buff, so it can be nullified. Can also be nullified via stunning him. It does come back every 14 seconds, or if he is a defender, then comes back every 10 seconds instead. But the base point is, so yeah, he's a robot, so he's bleed, poison immune. He's also immune to armor shatter. He's like, which is quite interesting because that is typically, let's say, Medusa's and Vizhnarku's forte of dealing with robots. But immunity to armor shatter obviously shut that down, so that's gonna be obviously quite beneficial and quite annoying when you're gonna be facing off against him. Now, if you're under the effects of an armor break, Dragon Man releases currents of mythical energy, dealing 117.3 degeneration damage every half second. Damage is increased 100% against cosmic champions. So you also do not want to armor break this guy, which is which is probably gonna be annoying when you're facing off against him, especially if you brought in armor break champion. But all in all, it is something new, so we're gonna see how pleasant or unpleasant this ability is in game, but it's something to keep in mind. Now his one of the main things, this power charge buff, so he generates 12% of a bar of power every second. Strength wise, this is stronger than Doctor Strange's power gain. However, keep in mind that Doctor Strange gains 0 power from getting hit or landing hits. Now even though Dragon Man's power rate is reduced by 35%, it still means 65% power rate is there, so you're still going to be gaining quite substantial amount of power from landing and receiving hits on top of this Doctor Strange level power gain in general. So that's gonna probably make him feel extremely aggro. I don't think he's gonna be quite as aggressive power gain, kind of like as in a Hyperion in most of the scenarios, but he's still gonna be very potent when it comes to that. And he's also a mystic champion, so obviously mystic dispersion is there. However, he doesn't have any nullify or buff control abilities. However, he has interactions with many different buffs that actually kind of like just either negate them or give you a potential to reverse them, which is also a new kind of take, so that also definitely piques my interest as well. And yeah, when fighting science champions, upon receiving non-damaging debuff, pause the cooldown duration for 0.35 seconds. And again, as I said, if you stun him, his power charge buff is removed. So, and seemingly, obviously, because he's a mystic champion, the best options to counter him is going to be all of your science champions that spam non-damaging debuffs. I don't know, Invisible Woman's, Mr. Fantastics, or whoever else you have. Now, he has this cornered ability, and that effectively kind of like activates when you corner your opponent. So you will want to be super aggressive and keep your opponent in the corner to kind of like utilize him to his fullest potential. While the opponent's back is against the wall, they gain cornered. Cornered is unaffected by ability accuracy modifications. Each hit deals 821 physical damage. This damage is increased by 50% for each ineptitude or unique buff on the opponent, up to 150%. Now, again, so you will benefit from opponents having buffs by dealing a lot more damage in a corner, and 821 per hit on top of your regular damage is going to be a decent addition, plus then obviously plus 150%. That would add to like 2000 per hit added just by cornering your opponent if they have buffs. So that's kind of cool. An opponent's defensive combat power rate reduced by 70% while about 2 bars of power, and that's also extremely beneficial for somebody who will likely have an aggressive playstyle. So far, so good. I absolutely love it. Also, on opponent knockdown, get an unblockable buff for 3 seconds, durations paused during special attack, and this is gonna definitely come extremely handy offensively, trying to be aggressive. And on heavy attacks, on hit, remove any incinerates on the opponent, each dealing burst of 1200 energy damage. If 6 or more incinerates are removed, this damage is increased by 50%. Now, only way you can get incinerates is via spamming your level 2s. Level 2 places 3 incinerates on opponent. Not too potent, but still, you know, it's a debuff. It's a damage over time debuff, and it also reduces opponent's block proficiency and removes the perfect block chance. So it again kind of like aligns with the idea of being aggressive and kind of like pressing hard on the opponent. Additionally, there seems to be a rotation for this guy where you got level 3. Then you can definitely spam level 2s and drop that heavy attack, which is going to be kind of like your full rotation, seemingly. But anyways, let's first get to the special one. Final hit inflicts slow for 8 seconds. So that is also very great, because he will be able to spam that level 1 if need be with the increased power gain, so on and so forth. So in a vast majority of the scenarios, especially if you are able to keep opponent against the wall and thus gain all of that cornered abilities where they gain less power, so you have to bait out less special attacks and you gain extra damage, you should be able to maintain this slow, pretty much 100% uptime. Obviously can't slow science champions because you cannot slow champions with class disadvantage. So the first hit that contacts the opponent consumes 1 power charge to inflict an ineptitude debuff, reducing the potency of a new Fury armor of precision and cruelty buffs by 75% for 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is a very, very long duration, especially considering it comes from a level 1 effect, so it's not that hard to get level 1. We can see that many effects in level 2 and level 3 typically don't even last the 30 seconds. So again, you should kind of like have a very high uptime on this buff, and I believe you can stack a couple of these. It's not listed here, but you should be, in theory, able to stack like 3 of them at a decent pace, I guess. Possibly 2, I don't know, something like that. But if you do stack them up, then they can reverse the potency, because if you stack 2 of them, that would be 150% reduction, and that means that each Fury buffs opponents have actually will work as weaknesses, each armor ups that opponents have will actually effectively work as armor breaks, and precisions and cruelties will work as like fatigues and whatever else you have there. So that is kind of cool. Again, unfortunately, I think the main 2 buffs that you typically want to reverse is regen and power gain, but you know, you can't get everything, I guess. So we're gonna move on to special 2, and this is gonna be your, like, again, main rotation special attack. All 3 hits of Fire Breath inflict Incinerate, dealing 1200 damage over 25 seconds. Incinerate also reduces blah blah blah. Consume 1 power charge to generate passive Fury, increasing attack by 1524.9 for 30 seconds. So again, you get a really, really long Fury on level 2s. That 1524 is about 70% of your attack. So that's a fairly substantial Fury for a level 2 for sure. And now where is that level 2? And we can move on. And special 3 is your kind of like Kickstarter, I would say. So typically in majority of the fights you will want to get to a special 3, mainly due to the second line, but let's read through it all. Consume all stacks of power charge, each contributing 4 seconds to an unstoppable buff. While active, this unstoppable instantly regenerates 85% of hit damage received from all attacks other than special 3s. So the point is, so I can drop a level 3 and just mindlessly charge an opponent to try and corner them or whatever, and you're going to be unstoppable. And even if they hit you, you're going to regen pretty much all of the health, because recovery mastery is a thing, and that increases your regen by 15%, and you should be pretty much unscathed after receiving any hits whilst during that unstoppable. But you should be also able to push your opponent back, or ideally dash at him, land the medium, throw that heavy, go unblockable, and then kind of like carry on your spam. But the most important thing is after this special attack ends, generate 3 stacks of power charge. And power charge, remember, gives you a Doctor Strange level of power gain. And if you have 3 of these, and there is no mention of like them being less potent or anything like that, you will be gaining a whole ton of power very, very quickly. Now remember that throwing a special attack does consume this power charge, which does come back every 14 seconds if you have none left. However, with this rotation, you drop a level 3, you have 3 of these power charges active already immediately. That means you're going to be getting a lot of power. You're meant to drop a level 2, which would consume 1 power charge. You're left with 2 and still a very, very significant amount of power gain. Then you're meant to drop another level 2. That would give opponents 6 incinerates, and then you're meant to land your heavy attack, which would remove those 6 incinerates and deal a whole lot of burst damage. So that is how the typical rotation is likely going to look like in kind of like a standard level fight. Kind of like similar to a degree to Doom's rotation, just instead of having to throw level 1, level 2, and level 2 after a special 3, you now need to throw 2 level 2s and a heavy attack. But yeah, it's gonna have, I guess, quite similar feel, especially because after level 3 you can charge at your opponent, and opponent has reduced power rate after 2 bars of power, so you should still be able to kind of like execute this full rotation without having a need to bait out a special attack from opponent. And yeah, so it definitely looks very interesting. Now his signature ability is also extremely good, which leads me to believe that he's going to be great without it, but he's going to be much better with it. So when any non-science opponent has specific buffs active, gain unique effect, potency is increased by 100% when fighting cosmic champions. So when opponents activate regen, reduce opponent's regen rate by 35%. And remember, so against cosmic champion, this is doubled first and foremost. And second of all, you can still put this ineptitude debuff on opponents, which doesn't work on power gain and regen, but it will work on the rest of the stats. So that can kind of like add up, and that can definitely make very interesting stat changes, where if opponent gains a fury, in reality they lose a lot of attack and you gain a whole bunch of attack. But yeah, so let's move on. So opponents gain power gain, reduce opponent's ability power gain rate by 35%. Again, against cosmic champions, which are the main ones that you're gonna want to utilize this for, will reduce it by 70%. So he, in theory, should pretty much absolutely shred, let's say, Vision Arcus or Hyperion. And Vision Arcus would be a very interesting matchup because he can't armor shatter you, but he can armor break you. But if he does armor break you, you just gain extra damage. Obviously, you will be taking some damage as well, but at the same time, you should be able to kind of like outpace it. So that's going to be very beneficial and advantageous matchup for Dragon Man. So Fury gives you, if opponent has Fury, you gain armor rating. If opponent has armor buff, you gain Fury basically. If opponent gets a precision, you get crit resistance. If opponent gets cruelty, you get crit damage resistance. So basically you kind of counteract all of these buffs, which is quite unlike anything else in the game. But yeah, that is a signature ability. By the looks of it, it will make him like obviously a lot better in several matchups, but in general it doesn't contribute to his overall playstyle, so he will be usable also without having his awakened ability, but he's gonna get extra dimension to his abilities, I guess you could say, if he is awakened. And I'm gonna quickly go through the synergy bonuses, and then we're gonna go through the last kind of like closing remarks. Now his synergy with Diablo, Dragon Man's special 3 generates additional stack of power charge, which could be really beneficial, because then you're gonna have like an extra one left over, and you should be much quicker into getting back to your level 3 after you have done your 2 level 2s and a heavy attack. So that might speed up his damage output quite significantly. Again, unfortunately, it's with Diablo, and realistically, nobody wants to bring in Diablo with any serious content, so it's going to be kind of like mainly show-off synergy. But hey, and Diablo has a 50% chance to recover the brewed potions, and he consumes them once they're brewed, which will obviously help Diablo immensely. But I think Diablo is kind of like quite below the curve, that even with a good synergy like that, he's not going to be anything special to look out for. But hey, it's definitely going to help him. And now he had synergy with Mr. Fantastic. When inaptitude, reduce opponent's armor rating, attack rating, critical rating, and critical damage rating by 10%. It's kind of like neat. I don't think it's anything too outlandish. And Mr. Fantastic gains 50% special attack damage if opponent has that special attack careful study passive, which again, neat, nothing too insane. Dragon Man with Invisible Woman. While unstoppable and being attacked, Dragon Man reduces his opponent's offensive ability accuracy by 50%. It could be kind of beneficial because the whole idea after level 3 is that you just dash in at opponent, and if opponent has some pesky abilities, then this might give you a chance to bypass them, but overall, again, it's not really the most convenient, I guess, synergy to carry. An Invisible Woman, when becoming visible, retain 40% of vulnerabilities on the opponent is massive for Invisible Woman and will definitely deserve kind of like a playtest. And I think since Dragon Man is a great champion and Invisible Woman is a good champion, but her biggest weakness was losing these vulnerabilities, that actually might kind of like propel Invisible Woman into more playable situation within the contest. And synergy with Tigra, while the opponent is cornered, the defensive combat power rate is reduced by 25% when struck by special attacks. Is obviously going to be great for the rotation and is going to be just helpful. I don't think it's like a mandatorily necessary synergy, but it's definitely going to be helpful. And Tigra, neutralized opponents have minus 100% auto block ability accuracies. This synergy is absolutely worthless for Tigra in like 90% of the scenarios, because typically with Tigra, what you do, you spam heavy attacks as much as you can, and your special attacks are unblockable anyways. So heavy attacks cannot be auto-blocked at large, and unblockable attacks obviously cannot be auto-blocked as well. So realistically, it would only kind of like help you when you're landing a regular combos, which is extremely rare with Tigre to begin with. So I think this synergy doesn't help her at all. And then you have some enemies that Punisher 2099 and Elsa for some crit rating. Why not? So overall, let's just put it all together for the little Dragon Man. Has insane power gain. He has double immunities and immune to armor shatter and armor break. Interesting reaction there, but anyway, so he has at the very minimum, let's say, double immunities, a ton of power gain, able to spam incinerates on opponent, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all he needs. Obviously, then he has the reduced opponent's power rate while cornered and all the other stuff that he had going on there for him. But the main point, obviously, that I think is he is seemingly like a very, very aggro robot that's going to be bursty with a great rotation, solid game plan, and I think he's going to fit in meta game extremely well. Obviously, he's going to have problem with debuff immune matchups or buff nullification matchups or stuff like that, because he does rely on buffs and debuffs quite significantly, but that's a problem of many champions. Overall, I look forward to him. I think he's going to be one of the better robots in game. I think being Mystic and the robot does increase his stock significantly as well. I think he's going to be very fun to play. I think he's going to be practical, and I think he's going to be useful, and I look forward to using him. Now, a couple of things to note. Obviously, he does also sound like he has a crazy annoying defensive potential, especially because he's a robot that cannot be armor shattered, and that is our favorite way of dealing with robots, especially in Alliance War. And additionally to all of that, he is kind of neutralized if you can stun him, but we see more and more of those nodes in the game where you get punished if you try to stun the opponent. We have those nodes where you get the stun reflected back, or it goes on cooldown, like stunning reflections and whatever else we have. So I think that is obviously going to be typically where we see the guy, and then you're going to be kind of left to deal with nullified champions directly on power reverse champions, because other than that, he's going to be an absolute nightmare. And in a fight, if he will ever get to a special 3, you're basically automatically screwed, because then his power gain is going to go through the roof. So yeah, he does look also potentially scary defender in certain matchups. Obviously, if you can stun him, then he's not going to be anything too special. But as we know, there are quite a lot of defenders who gain this significant difficulty increase if they are like stun immune or have some nodes like stunning reflection. And I think that is also going to be Dragon Man, where we can see that it's gonna be some ridiculous fights in Alliance War with him, I feel like. Because yeah, you can't shut him down as a robot, which was the main robot weakness. And in addition to that, if he's placed on stun immune, then it's just gonna be quite crazy for a lot of scenarios. So hey, it's gonna be interesting, but I definitely do think he's gonna fit in meta very well. I'm quite hyped. I really do want to get this champion. And yeah, I think for me, that definitely does say a lot. I am not as excited for majority of the champions released overall. This one definitely piques my interest. And that is about as high of a compliment as I give to the champion. And with that, also, the video is done, finished, over. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about Dragon Man. And yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. See ya.